Hey, so I forgot to start recording for my second match. So this first game, pretty straightforward. I have just your basic everyday, um, normal amulet hand, turn 1 amulet into turn 2 Azusa. I play out the forest castle so that if they remove the Azusa and I draw another green source, I can still Titan. So yeah, I play Titan here and my opponent just concedes. I was thinking I would probably, if they didn't concede, grab Simic Talaria West, because then they can never cast a spell, because if they cast a spell, I just resolve the Summoner's Pact, next turn pay for the Pact, and then next turn Primeval Titan uncounterably again. But they just conceded to the Titan, so then we go on to game 2. So, game 2. Kind of missed some of the commentary because I think there was a lot of interesting decisions and lines. I kept this hand on the strength of Double Amulet plus Cavern, even though it doesn't have a bounce land. I was mentioning how it was a little awkward that I didn't have Breeding Pool in my deck here. I held on to Grazer so that if I drew a non-blue bounce land, that I could Grazer Talaria West into play and then bounce the Talaria West to transmute. But then I just drew Simic Growth Chamber. I ended up deciding to bounce the Forest after thinking about it for a second because I was realizing that I wanted the blue mana in play in case I drew a bounce land to be able to transmute. And then, so my opponent goes for Teferi here. I just use this moment to resolve Summoner's Pact, because I think if I can make Colossus happen, I'm probably winning this game. So I figure going one turn slower is fine to play around Counterspell. And with the second Cavern, I put out Cavern on Beast. If my opponent had a Spreading Seas on Simic Growth Chamber, it would be bad for me if I didn't Cavern there. So then I just play a Colossus here, and it draws me quite a few cards. They Solitude in response here to make me gain less life, which I'm sort of fine with because the Cultivator Colossus, the body, is not really the important part. It's more the trigger. So yeah, I draw a lot of cards here. And I pick up Simic Growth Chamber. My reasoning being that I don't think I'm transmuting next turn. And if I don't get to have... And if I get to have Dryad, I'm going to have blue mana anyway. But if I don't get to have Dryad, I might want to haste the Colossus. So that was my reasoning for bouncing the Simic rather than the Boros. So I decided to play Dryad off of Castle since my opponent has 3 mana. I figure in order to answer both, they're having to play a Solitude and a Counterspell. I float some mana here so I can use Castle Garenbrig to grab a Primeval Titan, and then haste it into the Teferi, because the Teferi ultimate is probably the only way I could lose this game from this point. And then I pick up, I use get 2 bounce lands, one to pick up Cavern and one to just have an extra land in hand for the Cultivator Colossus, and then here I just pick up 2 more lands for the Cultivator Colossus, figuring that next turn, if I just play this Colossus, I'm drawing an insurmountable amount of card advantage. I mean, we're just sort of in garbage time here. Nothing really matters anymore. We're winning this game. It's just gotta execute it out now. So, yeah. So I play Colossus, draw a million cards, I decide to Vesuva on Valakut to make any potential Dryads in the future more of a threat. I end up drawing the last forest in my deck, which is a little bit awkward with the fetch land. It's possible I should have fetched earlier. I was kind of hoping to leave a forest in the deck for Dryad. So my opponent has Cryptic Command, which is not a card I was expecting, but we have so much mana that we still just get to post Cryptic Command. We get to make an Azusa and make a Primeval Titan and haste it. It's a little bit weird because most of the red and white sources are out of my deck, and I can't fetch with the Windswept Heath, so I'm locked into floating white mana and getting a Gruul Turf. Yeah. And the Grazer to get the Uncounterable here so that I can float white mana, get Gruul Turf, and I guess I grab Sunhome for the other land because why not? There's not much lands left in my deck. Nothing really matters anymore. I pick up the Gruul Turf because on future turns I'll have plenty of red sources thanks to Valakuts. And yeah, I mean, there's not much lands left in my deck, so not really much of decisions here. It's just sort of garbage time, like I was saying. Pick up some bounce lands, in case I want to Colossus the rest of my deck, and win that way. With just the remaining Dryads and Titans and whatever. So yeah, so our opponent concedes to the death of Jace. So sorry I forgot to record the actual match. Hopefully this recap was still fun to watch. And Cultivator Colossus definitely looked really, really good this match. So I don't know, maybe it's a real card.